Neat.
Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to Cutting Edge Action. Today we are going to be taking a look at the Olight Oknife Beagle, and I'm going to cut right to the chase and say, other than the name, just about everything about this knife is absolutely superb. It's one of my new favorite knives at this price point, narrowly edging out the SOG Flash ATXR that I covered in my cheap EDC under $100 video. The 154cm steel that we have here is very nice to see at this price point, and the fit and finish are nothing short of excellent. The knife is sold by Olight under the Oknife moniker, but it's manufactured by Kizer. For comparison, here's my Kizer Beglader sporting a very similar finish on the G10. These knives look very similar and they're manufactured in a very similar way, you can tell. The jewel around the pivot on the Kizer is even the same color as a lot of the hardware on the Beagle. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the specs of the Beagle out of the way. I'll put them right here on screen for you, directly from Oknife. Now, the action on the Beagle is probably one of its best qualities. The pivot is handled by bearings, and it really shows. After disengaging the lock and starting to push the blade back into position, it starts to accelerate and then drops nicely into the locked and closed position every single time. It's very smooth and extremely consistent. Blade deployment is also very easy and consistent. The thumb stud allows for a snappy deployment every single time, as you can see. The detent is strong enough to keep the blade in the closed position, but it's not very difficult to overcome once you get started pushing with the thumb stud. The Beagle features a pretty standard liner lock. It locks up without fail on every single deployment. I don't really have any issues with it. I'm not a big fan of liner locks to begin with, but this one is pretty good. The stiffness of the knife, both locked and unlocked, are very good, and it does feel like one solid piece, which is really what I'm looking for as far as the rigidity of the knife goes. For the steel choice here, I think 154cm definitely isn't at the front of the pack in terms of performance anymore, but at this price point of around $80, I am totally fine with 154cm, and I think that is a pretty darn good steel for the money. For other material choices here, the G10 on the scales I think is done just absolutely superbly. We've got this very nice texturing and patterning here that gives you some really good grip, but isn't going to dig into your hands if you're not wearing gloves. It's a real nice balance there as far as grip goes, and it looks really great as well. I think they did a fantastic job with that G10. The liners are just some skeletonized steel pieces to reduce the weight a little bit, but they are not skeletonized so much to the point where they feel flimsy. This knife really feels solid in the hand. Special attention was paid to all the screws and hardware on here, as you can see, to get that very nice kind of lightish blue tone to them. And then they blacked out the screws for the pocket clip, which I think is a nice touch. Definitely helps the pocket clip to stay stealth. And that hardware in general is just really good looking. The Beagle features a pretty standard stealth deep carry pocket clip. It's not the nicest pocket clip ever, but I think it's pretty good looking, matches the aesthetic of the knife, and it definitely does its job pretty well. The thumb studs here are very nicely machined, and they're very easy to interact with. They're not too harsh on your thumb like some can be, and the blue color on them that matches the pivot just looks really good. The cutting performance here is very good, as you can see from the B-roll shot that I'll have up on the screen. I was able to tear through some phone book paper with this thing straight out of the box, and then cut up a stick quite a bit and be real rough and aggressive with it while cutting up that stick. And then, as you can see afterwards, I had no trouble still getting right through the phone book paper, without doing any stropping or anything like that. So the edge retention here is pretty darn good, as well as the general cutting performance. Without having used and abused this knife too much, durability seems to be very, very good. I've used it quite a bit at work, and it doesn't even really show a single scratch. I've stabbed this thing into wood for the purposes of making this video, and had it in some dirty locations, and the G10 pretty much just cleaned itself right up. I didn't even really need to apply a wet paper towel or anything. Pretty much just taking it in and out of my pocket, the G10 seems to have cleaned itself up nicely. And as you can see, the coating on the blade is still holding up remarkably well, and it still looks fantastic. The ergonomics here are another really strong point. When the knife is deployed, the index finger grip hole that we have here gives you some really nice grip, and that gentle jimping on the spine of the blade allows you to choke up on it quite a bit, all the way up to the harpoon point of the blade, and you really have a lot of control when you're using this thing. It is a very nice knife to hold on to, very comfortable, never feels like it's digging into your hand at all. The firing grip is also very good. You've got a lot to hold on to here, plenty of room to give yourself to make sure that you can actuate that thumb stud. This knife with the G10 grips, just a very nice experience to hold on to and use, whether you're wearing gloves or not. Style on the Beagle, I know I'm going on and on about how much I like this thing, guys, but I think the action, the flare, the fit and finish, and the quality of all of the materials that we've got going into this thing are just really good at this $80 price point. That manufacturing that we've got from Kaiser seems to be of just the highest quality for these materials. The finished product is much greater than the sum of its parts, and I think especially with this beautiful harpoon blade that we've got, this knife is really just an excellent style piece in addition to being a great performer. Alright guys, so we are getting into the end of the video here, and I know it seems like I've got very little criticism to actually say about this knife, and that is because I really like it. I think at this $80 price point, you would be hard pressed to find something that's a better bargain than this, and a better all-arounder. You've got a real nice deployment, a great looking knife, pretty good materials here with the G10, the steel liners, and the 154 cm blade. It seems like the heat treat is good, and the edge retention. You've got good cutting performance. I think, like I said, you would be very pressed to find a better performer and something that looks better at this price point. I think this knife just both looks and performs fantastic. So guys, to go ahead and wrap this video up, I'm giving this knife a pretty glowing review. I think it is a really good knife, especially at the price. And if you were looking to pick up a new EDC for not a whole bunch of money, something that's going to last you a good long time for many years to come, I think you could do a lot worse than the Olight Oknife Beagle, because this is a fantastic knife at only $80. Cannot recommend it highly enough. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to get subscribed if you're not subscribed already. Go ahead and leave a like on the video. Hit the bell to make sure you get notifications from me. Leave a comment down below to tell me what you thought. I had a lot of fun making this video and shooting the B-roll for it, and I hope it shows, guys. I'm continually trying to step up the quality of the videos. So until next time, guys, this has been Cutting Edge Action.